everyone.
At least 50% of his class has his grade or lower. Is moving towards everything race.
And the police comes and they say, well, we can't do anything.
Of course, all opinions are my own, not my employer's.
Period. Hello. Welcome back. This Pop in Politics. You know what it is, Wednesday night. You are here with us, the ladies. I'm KJ. And without further ado, let me introduce you to the rest of the co-hosts. We have Yana.
Hello.
We have T.
What's up?
Xandria.
Hey.
And Shelly E. All right. So join the conversation by leaving a comment on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Check out our website, www.metroconservativemedia.com, for up-to-date information. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, ladies, let's set it off. So we are starting off tonight with the California recall. As we know, the recall of Governor Newsom in California failed. He actually won in a landslide. The leading Republican candidate was talk radio host and Republican strategist Larry Elder. So did Larry Elder ever have a real chance of winning in a heavily Democratic state like California with his long history of provocative comments? So one of these comments, we have some video footage here, and I'd like for you to take a look. And then we will comment on that. So I want you guys to take a look at this video. And this is just one of the things that was sent out to Californians this week prior to the recall.
So is this a video that was highly publicized recently?
In California, okay. Yes, it was. It was sent out by the Newsom or by Newsom team or the Democrats.
But it's an older video, right?
I'm not sure if it's very old, but it was in recent years. I think within the last 5 or 10 years. Okay. Yeah. So
why are they bringing it up now?
Well, he's been Larry Elder was a talk show or talk radio host for many years, and he does have a lot of. He was trying to get a lot of pull for the black vote because he was a black candidate, black Republican running. So they did. The Democrats went into his past and pulled a lot of things that he said. Out of context, right?
Which is what they do.
Right.
I mean, this is what politics. This is what competing candidates do. Mm-hmm. Except the left, which is pretty much the Democrat Party now, they are vicious and they do take a lot of comments out of context. The fact that he is a black Republican is anathema to them, and that gives them all. It's like hanging a piece of meat in front of a rabid dog. So that means, okay, black conservative, let's take him down.
Yeah. Well, and as far as I know, that it was Biden and Kamala. They went to California to campaign for Newsom. And what I'm also hearing is that it kind of reminds me of the last presidential elections, that there was such turnout for Newsom that it almost seems unbelievable that so many people, it was like over. Basically, the numbers don't really add up. Like how many people were registered, how many people voted,
and how many Democrats flipped and didn't want to support Newsom because they're fed up with him too.
Well, he won in a landslide. He won in a landslide.
But let me see. Do we have the clip?
Okay.
So just take a look at this clip.
Question: do you think that Rachel Jeantel is stupid? I think that I would rather have a George Zimmerman living in my neighborhood, and maybe if George Zimmerman were living in my neighborhood, we'd have fewer Oreo Castros. I thought we wanted people to be proactive. I thought we wanted people to see something, say something. I know, I'm answering something different that ought to be answered.
Could you just answer my question?
George Zimmerman like he's some sort of criminal. He's not a criminal. He's
George
a guy
Zimmerman
who cares about his neighborhood.
shot dead an unarmed
He's a guy who cares
teenager.
about his neighborhood. He's a neighborhood watch guy. Don't you want people who are proactive? And there was crime in that neighborhood, Pierce. I live in South Central.
There wasn't crime from Trayvon Martin in that neighborhood.
The burglar bars are not on there because of George Zimmerman. They're on there because of the minority of thug in the community that's messing up everybody's image and reputation. This is why people profile. Instead of being angry at George Zimmerman, be angry at the minority of the thug who's committing these kinds of crimes.
Okay, if I could jump in again. So just to clarify, though, Trayvon Martin wasn't committing crime.
It was an unfortunate incident. Two people had preconceived notions about each other. It never should have been happened. Doesn't make George Zimmerman a criminal. I used to work in the DA's office, Pierce. I'm telling you, it was a dog case, a reasonable doubt case. Nobody I know would have filed the case.
Yeah, well, we disagree, obviously, about that. I think it's completely wrong.
Obviously.
That George Zimmerman should get no punishment at all for killing an unarmed teenager.
He's got serious punishment. He can't go anywhere. Are you kidding? He's a marked man. Well, he's going to be sued civilly. He will never have a moment of peace. He killed somebody. Morally, he's got to deal with that, Pierce. He recognizes that. He's not an
Larry, if I may
he
respond.
recognizes what he did.
If I may respond.
Sure.
You know, some people would say that he's got it easy compared to Trayvon Martin, who he killed. So much as people feel sorry for George Zimmerman not being able to lead the life perhaps he wished he could, at least he can lead a life. At least he can lead a life. Wouldn't it have been nice to have had a George Zimmerman in Cleveland and maybe Oreo I don't want George Zimmerman doing my neighborhood watch patrol. No, I don't.
10 years,
I don't. I've got 3 teenage sons, Larry. I don't feel comfortable having somebody like George Zimmerman marching around as some wannabe vigilante armed with a gun, potentially.
All right, so what I want to pose, and I want to go to you first, T. Are these comments the reason why Republicans have a problem attracting the black vote, and for that matter, center-leaning Democrats? Now, this was my first time watching this video today. It was sent to me by another Republican. I'm not sure if it was your first time, but what do you think of those comments?
The comments, I can see, just from a logical standpoint, I can see where he's coming from. Meaning we want a George Zimmerman in our neighborhood, someone that's going to look out for the neighborhood, someone that's going to protect the neighborhood just as you would your own. And I get that but in this case, it's different. In this case, George Zimmerman really did too much. The kid was just walking by. He was basically taunting the guy. And so, of course, he reacted. He responded as someone would from someone who's following him. And he's on the phone saying, hey, someone's following me. He probably responded, and George Zimmerman took it too far when they're wrestling. I'm sure Trayvon Martin was stronger than George Zimmerman, so he does what he wants to do. He pulls out the gun or whatever. And I just think that is different. So, Mr.
Have you
Elder,
seen that in California? Would you have still voted for Larry Elder? Or would that had an impact on your vote for the recall? Even if you voted for recall, would that have had an impact on you voting for Larry Elder?
it would have an impact because now I'm questioning his, I know we're not supposed to be emotional. However, I'm questioning even his compassion.
Okay. What about you, Yana? Now, again, this video was played for Californians. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it had an impact on this?
I mean, do I think that it had an impact on some voters? Possibly. I do not know if it was on a big number of a big number of people, because I think that a lot of people make their decisions
Emotionally,
but also they make their decisions ahead of time. Like, I don't think that one video, like if you already decided that,
it wasn't just, it was several videos, but this one was just one of them that the Democrats played throughout the whole last couple of months.
It's possible. So it's possible that maybe some hesitant voters who were not sure what they think about Newsom and they didn't know what they thought about Larry Elder. It's possible that this could have swayed the emotional voters. I have to agree with his stance and what he was trying to say. I think it didn't come off, like it didn't really come out right. Like when he said, I would like to have someone like that in my neighborhood. Like, I do not know if people want that, like the person who would really like follow somebody and you know kind of like go a little bit overboard with his like policing. But what he was saying,
I would. I want
Okay.
somebody who is brave enough and has the courage enough to go out and follow people. And I'm not going to relitigate the Trayvon Martin case. He's deceased. I'm sure his family grieves him as they should. I think Larry Elder may not have said, or maybe didn't come across like you said, Yana. I agree. However, at what point are we going to acknowledge, again, our emotions can get in the way? Yeah. Do we want safer communities or not? Notwithstanding this George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin case in particular, but do we want safer communities or not? Do we want men out in the community policing our areas for our children, our women? Yes, I do.
Piers Morgan, he said he shot an unarmed teenager. And
yes, he did.
And that's true, but they like to use these words like teenager
to invoke emotion.
What was he?
He was, but he was
what words are we using?
But he was also I mean, the thing is that he wasn't there to
who wasn't there?
Trayvon Martin.
What was Trayvon Martin there for?
Well,
he was there. He had just left a store.
A store or something.
Excuse me.
A store.
May I finish?
Why are you chilling at me? I just said a store.
I was going to finish. I know what he did.
Okay.
He left the store. He came from the store. They have video with Skittles and an iced tea. He was there at his father and mother's house. Walking down the street, the police told this man not to follow Trayvon Martin, who was a teenager. He was 17 years old. This man pursued him. He pursued the 17-year-old man.
Afterwards?
Let me say, he pursued him, and Trayvon Martin fought him.
Right.
Trayvon Martin fought him. Now, the details as far as what happened during that melee are not clear.
Yeah.
But these are what we know.
So I have to say that, yes, you know, I agree that he went overboard with the policing of the neighborhood. However, when people feel a certain way about someone, you know, profiling is bad. I mean, yeah, we can say profiling is bad, but then at the same time, profiling happens because there's prejudice towards a certain type of people that look a certain way.
We do it every day.
And we should be angry at those people. So maybe Trayvon Martin was innocent. That's true. He wasn't there to commit crime. But how many people, Black people, do go into neighborhoods and commit crime? No. I lived in DC. How many times my car was vandalized? 3 times. I mean, I've seen other people's cars vandalized. It was all Black people, unfortunately. So what will happen? It's not a
well. That's why we have police officers.
It's not a surprise.
We have human beings who have instincts. We are profiled.
Go ahead, Xandria, because you have.
Well, I think they're planning to. Right, he could have phrased what he stated differently. I think in the way that Yana explained.
That's what he said, though. I want to talk. I don't want to. What did he say? And if voters are seeing this man say this, do you think this is a problem and is why we're not getting votes?
So if they're emotionally intelligent,
well, who isn't?
Right. But what I'm saying is, had he explained it like Yana explained it, right, it would have come off different.
But he didn't. He explained it this way. Yana is not running for office. This man is. You look at the video based off of how he explained it.
From 2 years
ago, that this video was played all throughout the last couple of months.
I'm sure it turned.
If people saw this with this
voters that play into
of course it would.
The BLM narrative, right?
And I think
and
he
the
was
sad thing is
emotional about this. I'm sure. I mean, at the time it was the big issue, and he got really emotional over this. That why is it that we don't address the fact why there's profiling? I mean, we always want to say, oh, there's Islamophobia, for example. But why do we have Islamophobia? Is it an irrational fear?
I mean, you guys are conflating, though, because basically we are not here to decide whether or not profiling is okay or whether profiling is something that happens or not happens. We're talking about this case. We are talking about a man who he said he would love, and you said the same thing, to have Zimmerman as his neighbor. Zimmerman later in the year was charged with domestic aggravated assault. So he's not like, you know, I wouldn't want him having my neighbor. He was charged with domestic aggravated assault, among other charges, after having allegedly choked and aimed a gun at his girlfriend. This is your neighbor, and this is your neighbor, right?
First of all, let's say you said it again. This was after the Trayvon Martin case.
It's him. This is his character.
I said someone like yes, I do.
So you want somebody like
a
that
strong
next door to
man.
you and you.
I do want a strong man to police our neighborhoods, to have the courage. Do I want someone who's going to abuse? No, and just go willy-nilly. No, I do want someone there.
And he had,
I do want someone like that. I do.
I don't know the timing of his interview. Like if it
I don't want a pussycat. Give me a tiger or a lion
Right.
to roam the neighborhood. I don't want a pussycat.
Well, tigers and lions eat people.
Exactly.
So
I do. If it's a bad guy, I want them to attack the bad
I want
guy.
someone like that as a police officer. I don't want someone like that who is not following directions. The police told him to stand down.
Well, we just disagree, but that's what I want. That's what you want.
Because of how politicized they've made the race thing in America right now, and
California is very about race. This is a teenager.
It's about the hood.
But
the hoodies.
This particular
hoodies.
issue,
There are many teenagers that commit crimes.
Race.
Not saying Trayvon Martin did.
So this is
there are
the
many
problem.
teenagers that commit heinous crimes.
Right. We're talking about
what
this.
I'm saying is this case got lumped in with all the BLM stuff, right? And it's probably one of the only names on the
BLM.
Yeah, this wasn't lumped in. This was the first case.
But my point is, it's one of the only cases that is legit. Like, we don't know. Well, I don't know that. They would always say like white versus black. Actually, Zimmerman was part Latino.
Who cares? He was a piece of shit.
I get that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is
that's
they're
what he
playing
was.
into the BLM narrative. And the thing with the funny thing about BLM is a lot of the cases in BLM that are listed were not actually race.
Why are you saying this?
So
we're talking about this.
What is it you want to say?
What you do is you make excuses.
What is it you want to say? You asked
We're talking about this
The
situation.
guy made a point. Larry Elder, he made a point that he cares about neighborhoods. Think of, okay.
Do you care about the children in the neighborhood?
Absolutely. But you know what? If you ever lived in a neighborhood that is crime-ridden, that you're afraid to walk on the street, you're afraid to get to your car, you do wish that there were people patrolling.
Alpha males.
And maybe following these guys that are just wandering around. When I do not know, I have to walk from the car that I parked down the block to my apartment. I do not know who's following me. Is he just an innocent teenager? Or you know what? I was actually attacked by like 5 teenagers. They were like 13 years old.
I see what you're saying, and I understand. There is a
I was
center.
able to fight them off.
There was the extreme, and then there's something in between. We can have people that patrol neighborhoods.
Exactly.
People do this all the time.
Patrol, not hunt them.
Right.
So
and
what
not,
do we want them to do?
You follow the police. He did not listen. The police told him to stand down.
To confront.
This boy was walking. This man was in a car and followed him.
To confront the first
Stand
instance of
down.
danger.
Watch
That's what
him and
they're there
see where
for.
he's
That's what
going.
they're there for.
That's what you do.
That's what they're there
I
for.
want to talk to you guys, because the point of this is that this kind of stuff is why people don't vote for Republicans. I'll tell you, according to a Washington Post ABC News poll conducted in 2013, it basically said 86% of African Americans disapproved of the not guilty verdict, with just 9% approving. That's compared with 51% of whites who supported the verdict. This is the verdict of George Zimmerman.
So, and what you're saying is that Republicans should be more like Democrats.
Wait, and also Pierce, who interviewed him, who was just canceled in all the recent stuff, right? He's more conservative, right? I mean, I guess he's in another country, but he is conservative, and he didn't agree with Larry Elder on that issue. So I don't know.
That's what I'm about to tell you. Most people don't agree with him.
So wait a minute. So now more Republicans should be more like
of
Democrats now. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it's one of
Again,
many
I'm asking you. I'm
This is
asking
an
you.
example. He's saying it's one of many. But
Again,
that's what we're saying.
you are going
That's
to
what we're saying.
extremes. There is a middle
No,
ground.
because
You
you're-
do not have to be on this TV station like he was, with no compassion about this. You're talking about a man.
He said Trayvon Martin is deceased, and that's
And
he
he
said
actually
that.
did say
I don't
there was
think it came up-
prejudice.
He did say that.
He did mention that it was an unfortunate
He's not on screen crying. Is that what you mean by compassion?
I'm not talking about that.
I think he did have
That's
compassion
why
about
they
it.
took
Yes,
it.
but
But I mean, again, like I said, people don't want to hear after a man, whether he did it on purpose or not, shot an unarmed teenager.
So what do they want to hear?
Is that offending anybody else?
What do they want to hear?
He shot an unarmed teenager. People don't want to hear him on here saying, "I want him as my
what do
neighbor."
they want to
always
hear?
part of the story. You
What do
have
they want
to
to hear?
uncover
It's
the
part- yeah.
truth
What do they
of
want to
the
hear then?
situation.
They want to hear
not
you.
the way.
Wait,
He
but
said it.
other-
Not the
but
way
you
he
have to
said
put
it.
No, it's not the way he said it. And let me tell you, if you guys don't get it,
And then he didn't be
if you-
quiet. Like he was just going on
They
and
played
on
the
about
whole.
it.
They played the whole interview. This was
The whole-
what
well,
part
we-
of that was out of context? That
I'm
John
saying
did?
you are saying that they are making a view based on like what he said overall. It made sense. Like what he was saying was not untrue.
So are you saying that this discounts any other thing that Larry Elder has done and advocated for? Let's just say you're right and we're all wrong, whatever. Okay. So this whole interview discounts all of his good things that he has done and advocated for in the community, in Black communities, whatever other communities. That discounts all of that. One mistake can out
one video on top of several that have been provocative and have been divisive. And so if I saw this video last week in California, if I lived in California and saw this video, I would never vote for this man.
Because no matter what you have, no matter so you're making
a decision based on emotion.
He's a libertarian. He has libertarian principles. And actually, this kind of community policing, that's a libertarian approach. That we actually rely on our own to
and
protect
it's something that a lot of
ourselves.
Black communities vote for today because they want to defund
And
the police, so they want to increase the community policing. So what do we want?
Are very people are afraid of them because libertarian ideas actually take the government away from the communities, from the individuals, and they put individuals in charge. And so, of course, things like that may happen. But what Larry Elder stands for is individual liberty and for communities to protect themselves.
Right.
And for example, he will say we shouldn't have taxes. He would also say that there should be zero minimum wage. You know how many people would be against that? Because they don't understand that concept.
Honestly,
that's
and
why
again, we have to close it out. But you know, what the whole point of it is, will he get elected? And no, he won't. Talking like this on TV. So basically, it's, you know, he could be libertarian. He can vote for no minimum wage. He can say George Zimmerman, I want George Zimmerman as my neighbor and all this type of stuff. He won't get elected.
So again, what should
are?
Republicans do then? They should be Democrats to get elected.
Again,
He wasn't.
What you
just
just said. That's what you just said. You won't get elected. So what should Republicans do?
Tim Scott doesn't say anything crazy like that. You got a problem with Tim Scott?
Yeah, I think he's too soft. Yeah, I do. I do.
I
would still vote for him because he's Republican. Yes, but I think he's too soft.
All right.
Look, I think Larry Elder.
Okay, ladies.
Larry Elder.
Why are you gonna discount me because I tell you my opinion?
Because you
Why?
don't vote.
So we can do the opposite, KJ. This can go on the whole thing. No way. You don't vote for Elder. I wouldn't vote for Tim Scott. Whatever. That doesn't get us anywhere. Tell me what Republicans should do. What should they do?
They already have Republican votes. They're trying to get people in the middle. Well, he don't care
about
you.
That's where we
You're
are.
anyway.
In the middle, we get nowhere. In the middle, we'll maintain the status quo.
The people in the middle will maintain the status quo.
They will
vote for Larry Elder.
They will because he's libertarian and that's more in the middle.
Okay, well, who won to be called?
So, but again, that's based on an emotional vote. So, right, a conservative should play into emotions of
That's basically
you guys don't understand. You have to be a likable person to win any election. Reagan was a likable person. He had charisma.
People who speak their mind.
And
even if you don't agree, I do not want politicians to say things just to get elected.
I don't either.
And then they get elected, and then
they do opposite.
something else happens.
I don't think that message came across, but I don't think he was ever not sympathetic to Trayvon Martin and the family. He just was expressing his larger view of what happened and what should happen.
Okay. Well, we will move on. As you can see, it was a heated conversation. So again, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Comment on this also. Tell us what you think. Do you want George Zimmerman as your neighbor, as Yana and Shelly do? So comment on that. How many people? We love to see how many people want George Zimmerman as their neighbor. So that's something. We will check the comments
beautiful day in the neighborhood
throughout the show.
Be my neighbor.
Also, subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post a new comment. Check out our website, www.metroconservativemedia.com for an up-to-date information. Also, We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, so we are moving right along to our pop-off rapid fire round. All right.
I thought we just had it.
Yeah. So we'll start with, let's see here. First one, Missouri Superintendent cancels. Oh, 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay. Please. Okay. The Met Gala required everyone to be vaccinated to attend. Whoopi Goldberg attended and said in a red carpet interview, if you're not going to get vaccinated, you really have to question where you stand in this country. Xandria, what do you feel about those comments? 30 seconds or less.
Okay, her outfit, number one. But no, I mean, again, people need to make personal decisions that make sense for themselves. If you're not, this idea of going against everybody that isn't vaccinated is just a ridiculous concept. You know, why are they gonna? By the way, where were all the masks and all of this at these galas? All these things that they promote, even to people who are vaccinated. Where is it now? So it's just a lot of hypocrisy. And again, people need to make personal decisions that are important for themselves.
Thanks.
All right. This next one. A lot of women are cutting their hair all off. To mention Jada Pinkett Smith, and Yvonne Orji, to name a few, have recently chopped off their hair. Yvonne Orji talked about some of the backlash she received from people saying a woman's hair is her beauty. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with that age-old adage that a woman's hair is her beauty, or do you believe women can still be feminine and beautiful with short boy cuts? This goes to you, T.
I don't know. I go back to the whole hair debate from the stories in the Bible when, hair was important then. So in the stories that we hear, so I'm thinking that hair, hair's your glory, hair's your crown. I'm thinking hair might be somewhat important, but I can see how it's liberating to them bald-headed women. I'm sorry. We would be able to censor that. Yeah, so I see why it's liberating to women who cut their hairs, the hair off, but I don't think it's,
You
cute.
think it's not as feminine?
I don't think it's cute.
Okay.
I have a question though. Why they did that? Did they explain why they cut their
just wanted to cut it?
Jada
maybe
Pinkett
for
said it was a
breast cancer
spiritual
awareness
thing.
or
Oh,
something.
It was some kind of spiritual thing Jada Pinkett said. I don't know about the other lady.
Some people, I think she cut it just for free, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
There are people that rock it.
It wasn't like a sickness or anything.
Right.
Some people cut their hair just because they want to start over or reset their lives or something.
Yeah.
It can be meaningful, but otherwise, I don't see what the point is. Now it's becoming a trend. Now, when it hits the celebrity people, they're like, everyone is doing it now.
All right. But do you think it's less feminine? It takes away.
I don't
from
think
femininity.
your femininity isn't in a look.
Okay.
It's not a look. It's a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
They can do whatever they want to do.
Okay. All right. Next one. Okay. I'm not sure if we have the meme here. I wanted you guys to take a look at this meme. I'm sorry. Meme.
We got M&M's.
Meme. And see if you agree or disagree. Yes. Let me see. Okay. So privilege isn't the presence of perks and benefits. It's the absence of obstacles and barriers. That's a lot harder to notice. If you have a hard time recognizing your privileges, focus on what you don't have to go through. Let that fuel your empathy and action. So basically, it's in reference, I'd like to hear your response in reference to this and white privilege. Do you agree or disagree with this meme and why, Shelly?
I don't. Well, I do understand it. Focus on what you don't have to go through. Is that what she said?
Yeah, she said it's the absence of obstacles and barriers. So she's basically saying it's a group of people who don't have obstacles and barriers.
Okay,
and that's a lot harder to notice.
Oh yeah. So I don't know anyone that has no obstacles or no barriers for whatever reason, they may come in different forms to different people at different points in their lives. Every one of us has obstacles and challenges that we have had to overcome. Now, most of us don't necessarily go around wearing them on our sleeves saying, oh, look at me, I just overcame an obstacle, okay? I mean, it's ludicrous. So to focus, why can't we have a attitude of gratitude, to make it rhyme, to say, yes, I have experienced XYZ. Now I'm grateful that I am here. It doesn't mean you will never have any other challenges. So these feel good, so-called compassionate statements are just bunk. They're meaningless.
And they're
well,
racist.
she was saying this, do something with, she's asking, okay. All right. Next one is, of course, Yana. So Missouri Superintendent cancels advanced middle school courses over equity issues. So advanced classes designated as challenge courses have been eliminated from the school curricula to reduce achievement gaps, as well as opportunity gaps for underrepresented groups. So instead of maintaining the different course classifications that recognize the diversity of aptitudes and skill sets among the student body, the district aims to register every child in the same class. As a result, some students may face an intensity of instruction they are unprepared for, while others will be inhibited from realizing their full academic potential. So do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
So basically, they had two sets of classes,
Right,
and they put them all in one.
Yeah, they don't have the separate distinction. Mm-hmm. Now they're all in one class. Mm-hmm. Due to equity.
Well, I know we're going to talk about college later, and that just shows that public education is a mess in this country. And the thing is, it's like, why would you do that? Was there a problem when they were doing it? I'm just thinking, like, what is the reasoning? Because I always want to think, okay, is this a reasonable person who made that decision? Were children suffering from that setup in the past? Was anyone in trouble? Like, was there any child that was hurt by the fact that they had the advanced courses and the less advanced courses? And I feel like the reason why they did that is because they don't want to make the dumber students, the students that are not achieving as much, not to feel bad that they're separated.
Yeah, that's what it said.
But the thing is that as a working in education, there's a different approach to a student who is advanced and a student, and I'm not saying, the student cannot achieve, the other student cannot get to a certain level. He might or he may not, but there has to be another approach to someone who is less advanced. And if you have, what you're going to do actually is you're going to confuse the ones that are less achieving even more, because you're going to try to teach a class, but then they will not understand it. You have to kind of, for the lack of a better word, dumb down your instruction for someone who is less achieving. And it's not to make them feel dumber, is to actually help them, to get them up. And that's why they were separating them. So now they put them all in one class, and I don't think either one is going to benefit from that.
So you think it's a bad idea?
I want to see what happens.
Okay.
See, with education, it's like a study, so I want to see, is it going to help them or not? I think there is a reason why they were separated, but maybe if they put them together in some way, it might help. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, that's our pop-off round. If you guys have a question that you want to pose to one of the co-hosts, please feel free to send that to us. You can email me. Did I get everybody?
Yeah. I didn't remember. No, that's me.
Oh, okay. You can email me, kj@metroconservativemedia.com. I'll check the email, and I will pose the question to the co-host during our pop-off round. All right, we are moving to the next topic. Okay, so next topic is college worth it? Shelly, you feel like college is not worth it, so why?
Absolutely not worth it. A couple of reasons. the cost, particularly of many colleges, if not all colleges, continue to grow. And what are we getting for that cost? In excess of $50,000+ a year. We're getting dumbed down students, right? We're getting this equity, diversity, inclusion, college courses, gender, whatever you want to call it, the gender differences between monkeys, if you want to call it that. We're getting that. And not only that, we are putting out students who absolutely detest America. Most college students coming out absolutely detest the very ground that has allowed them to go and partake of the upper echelons of our society, if you will. So they're ingrates. That's what we're putting out, ingrates. So no, I don't think college is worth it by and large.
All right.
So, I mean, what I have to say to that is that we're just talking about public education. And I think that what college does is that it makes up for what public school didn't do.
Even worse.
So we have to go to college in order to learn to even, construct proper sentences, write, a paragraph. So I think that people who don't, if you tell people not to go to college, they may not even be able to get a basic office job straight out of high school.
So I have something towards that, because in my school, we had my high school, we had the regular courses, honors courses, GT, and then AP courses. And eventually GT and AP became in one. So when I took the AP and GT courses, I took things in high school like Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3. I didn't have to take those in college. And the people that took those in college, they had a worse education in college in those courses, so much more confusing, terrible teaching, large classes of 300 people.
I think it depends on the college.
It does depend on the college, and it does depend on the student. But the fact that I took that in high school, I was able to opt out of it in college, and what I learned in high school was so much better than what the people in the college courses learned.
Let me just add this if I could. So let's look at the data. So Forbes magazine came out with the College Board education in 2019. They published a study. And basically, they say the new report once again shows the strong correlation between more education and larger earnings, better employment prospects, and numerous actual social benefits. Some of the things that people that go to college that you don't even think about, actually they benefit from the non-economic economic benefits. College graduates are more than twice as likely as those with a high school diploma to volunteer in their communities. In 2016, the presidential election, 73% of 25 to 44-year-old citizens with at least a bachelor's degree voted. So they're more likely to vote compared to 41% of high school graduates in the same age group.
And what do they
a lot of times we live in democracy. So
that's what I mean. Yeah, we do.
I do think conservatives need to do a better job at being more involved with the higher education, because I feel like we have given control to the liberals, and it's extremely there. So with education, what I would ask is there a better way to educate people than college? Because I do think college has benefits for certain industries, but for example, for example, let's first start with what it isn't good for. So I was looking up some of the most useless degrees. Women's studies, people say ethnic and civilization studies, fashion design, film, video, and photographic arts, languages, music, philosophy, psychology, study in the fine arts, etc. Now, that doesn't mean that those aren't important topics. It just means that college majors do not help you achieve jobs in those areas. So, for example, if you're in the artistic field or you're in production, at the end of the day, they don't care what classes and courses you took. All they care is for your portfolio.
Yeah,
and what
that's
you
what I was
can
going to
show
say. And the data is it sounds very technical data, but people don't forget that there's also soft skills. And I feel like college education isn't really education. College education is just, how can you pass the test? Remembering things. I feel like,
but it shouldn't be like that.
But it is. And so I'm saying soft skills is what really teaches the person in their character and build, because there are people who didn't go to college that make way more than people that did.
Yeah, but it's not the norm. So again, if you look at the average earnings, median earnings of bachelor degrees recipients, And this is no advanced degree beyond BA, working full time for $24,900 higher than those of high school graduates. High school, you make $40,500, associates $50,100, bachelor's $65,400. So, among full-time workers aged 35 to 44, education level was strongly related to the percentage of earnings.
Yeah, over the course of a lifetime,
say,
college graduates do earn more over the course of a lifetime compared to high school high school diploma recipients. But I'm just asking, what are we getting for that, for our country, for our society, even the soft skills? The Wall Street Journal had an article about college-age women, or college-degree women having babies outside of wedlock. How is that good for the community? Take California, 2 days ago, the election, right? Most of the people who voted overall were college-educated. And most of the Black people who voted, I think the statistic I heard was 80%, most of them voted to keep Newsom. So they're voting for their own continued destruction.
I think we need better advisors in college, in high school, and in college.
Those are the ones who.
So,
What about trades?
trades?
What about the trades? Trades. People pick up trades more.
But this is what I will say. So I agree. The trades, you can be very successful, and I think the trades are very undervalued. You can be extremely successful in the trades without education.
Yeah.
But I will say there
work.
are certain skills that sometimes people in the trades, for example, follow-up, communication, some of the more technical skills that would actually benefit them and their business a lot,
and
they probably grow their
liberal
business more.
arts? I mean, I have to say, from an immigrant perspective, when we come to this country as immigrants, we do notice that the level of education is quite low. Like here in this area, like in DC area, we live in one of the most highly educated areas because most people have at least one degree in this area. So when we come across people here, when I talk about something like world history, most people know what I'm talking about. But when you travel across this country, that is what's lacking here. Like this classical education that is taught in other countries. And, just, of course, making money is very important, but also how you present yourself, how you communicate with the rest of the world.
That's what I mean, the soft skills.
Yes, and so like when we have, the rest of the world is laughing at our low level of education and how people don't even know our own history. Right. They don't know world history. They don't know poetry. They don't know culture, general, like overall culture of the world.
Well, like you said too, I mean, generally, I don't think you can altogether discredit a college education. One thing that I've found is, people who do graduate from college, everyone is not going to, you probably can do it without a college degree, but everyone's not made that way. Some people need the structure of an education where they go to a college classes and they need this structure and to survive, to
but
thrive.
Definitely don't spend $100,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
The same information is free.
I think there's definitely things that are invaluable that college can teach, but there are a lot of useless majors. For example, my college had a program that I was in. It was called Entrepreneurship and Innovation. For me, that was impacted my life to this day. It made me think differently, right? You are surrounded by other very intelligent people that are thinking ways that you never thought about, right? And who just impress you. But I think there's a balance between street smarts and academic smarts, right? And sometimes the people that have all the academic smarts don't have any street smarts at all.
Okay. And I'm a college educated woman. And I wanted to say, I'm a college educated woman, but I would advise young people to at least take a gap year or two before embarking on a college matriculation career. But I wanted to pick up something. We talked about this before, the soft skills. We talked about this before. I know about when you look at old pictures, you see Black people dressed up, even going to school, shirt and ties on and dresses. You talk about those soft skills. That's not today. That's not in today's colleges. Students can go to classroom any way they want. No soft skills standards, if you will. So
that was
public speaking. They don't really teach that. We need better advisors and better instructors in colleges. So we cannot eliminate college, because then how are we going to compete in the world? We're going to be like a third world country.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right?
And when you
reform colleges.
Right. And when you said something about even earnings, I mean, I think it's very important that we aren't anecdotal, and we do have the numbers. So earnings relative to college costs By age 33, the typical four-year college graduate who enrolls at age 18 and graduates in 4 years can expect to earn enough compared to a high school graduate.
Minus the student loan debt.
Right. I mean, but again, it does go on to say the labor force for 4 years and for borrowing the cost of full tuition, fees, books, and supplies without grant aid. So we do have a question.
Okay. Do they include entrepreneurship earnings in that? Many successful business owners are not college educated.
That is true.
That is true.
Yeah,
And
but when you think about it, though, yes, we do have a multi-millionaires and billionaires who are not college educated.
Who college
but is that the
educated
norm?
people work for.
That's not the norm.
But
That's a small. That's a small percentage of the overall.
And then they
But
want
we
to
didn't
tax
talk
the
about
rich.
they're also
debt,
some
the
of the
debt
wealthiest.
that students incur and pay off
Most
years
of the rich
later
didn't even
into
go to
adulthood,
college.
which impacts their overall earning over time. So it does do that.
That's true. So definitely, what do you guys think? Is college worth it? Please continue to comment throughout the night. We will check the comments and grab them and see what people say.
Conservatives need to reform the colleges.
Yes,
That's
I
what
totally
needs to
agree
happen.
with that. I definitely
And
agree
vote,
with that.
basically, like we say, vote with your money. Also, go to take those degrees that you think are important, and be mindful of the classes that you take, and then hopefully all those bullshit degrees are gonna fall away.
So here you have it from the pop stars.
Yeah.
Reform, not reimagine.
All right, we do have one more comment. We have here, college is only important for math-based and science-based degrees.
Disagree.
Oh, that's the basic.
No, that
Math
is
is basic.
wrong because
Who's that?
I think it can also
Math
benefit
is basic.
business a lot, but it really
no, because then you're again becoming just like a worker.
I would agree
that
with
is.
that a little bit.
I don't
I agree with that
disagree
a
with
little
it, but that's not only why college is important. I mean, you have to be able to calculate, but you also have to be able to think critically. You have to be able to know history.
Well, the math and
you have
sciences
to.
they
there are other things.
It's also about the actual experience of college. Multitasking.
What,
a lot of
every night.
Not to say,
again,
well,
you're talking about
there are a
evidence.
lot of people that there are a lot of people. I know many people with full rides into college that totally obliterate.
But again, that's an experience. It's something that they live and you learn through. But again, as you mentioned, it's not for everybody, but it works for most. So we will continue to monitor the comments there.
Is important.
All right. So next we are moving right along to our pop flop.
Wow.
So everybody take a look at this.
Damn. Oh my God, tax the rich. What a model. Damn. Absolutely. I mean, this has been when Aurora and I were first kind of partnered, we really started having a conversation about what it means to be working class women of color at the Met. And we said, we can't just play along, but we need to break the fourth wall and challenge some of the institutions. And while the Met is known for its spectacle, we should have a conversation about it. Damn.
Oh my gosh. I can't even
She's a college education failure.
Well, and also talking about privilege. I mean, she's the one to say, I'm a working class woman of color. And like, what? Who are you talking about?
Not her.
I say the same thing. All right. So we're going to move on to a little bit of a more serious topic, and that is our Declare It a Crisis Baltimore highlight that we do. We do this every week where we highlight not just gun violence, but murders in Baltimore of youth. So today we actually have two. We have Davin Thomas, 8 years old, and Danera Thomas was 6 years old. Found on August 24th at 4:37 p.m. In Baltimore City. Cause of death was a stabbing. The 2 children were found in a state of decomposition with trauma to their bodies. So again, anytime you want to just raise awareness regarding murders of youth in Baltimore City, please hashtag declare it a crisis Baltimore. We want to have our leaders know we are watching and this is a crisis and something needs to be done about it.
Stabbing, that's
This
serious.
is one with the mother. This is the mother that killed the 2 murdered.
Oh, right.
Let me take that back.
And you know what? I noticed more of that. I don't know if it's technology or media, but I'm seeing more stories about parents killing their children.
Well, not just that, but children
killing parents.
Children and women have been victims of murder and violence. Those numbers are high now.
And
higher than they have ever been.
Children, these are small children. They barely lived on this planet, and this would happen to them. And it just such a disregard for human life, for family, for community. Like, what is happening with people? These are
the children we talked about a few weeks ago, where their mom murdered them
and put them in a trunk. Is that?
I think they were in the house, but this is when we were talking about the neighbors heard the children screaming and no one called police. So yeah.
So we will continue to monitor these stories and bring them to you to let you know what's going on. Again, join the conversation by leaving a comment on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. Also, subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, so we are moving on to our last and final topic of the night, talking about conservative wardrobe. So Yana, I want to let you take it away.
Well, it's not just wardrobe. It's wardrobe. It's how we present ourselves, how we communicate, how we behave in public. And it came to me through wardrobe at first, because actually I had an interesting conversation on Facebook. It was right after Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. And I had an ad like the same day of like really conservative Islamic clothing on my, like, popping up on my feed. And so I kind of joked about it, saying, well, I was also angry, of course, what happened in Afghanistan. And I reposted and I said, oh, is Facebook telling us that Taliban is going to take over? And, you know, this is what I'm going to have to purchase soon. And my friend who is Muslim, she took offense to my comment, and she said, "Is everything okay?" And she said that basically she was like, "Well, women have a choice. Like they do this by choice." And I said, "Well, that's not. I'm not trying to. In fact, I would support Muslim women who dress modestly by choice, as opposed to the type of women that promote over-sexualization of women." So, and because I think that over-sexualization of women comes from the left, it comes from Marxist, from feminist ideology. So they're saying it doesn't matter what you wear, it doesn't matter how you behave. You can be a stripper, you can be a so-called sex worker or a prostitute, basically.
So let me ask you. What are you saying? What do you? How does this affect life?
Well, what I'm saying is, and it made me think globally, like, why is there radicalization of like this religious radicalization? Because it's a swing. So when one side, in fact, Islamic radicalization started in 1990s, and I think that's when the West really became really immoral. And so when we're becoming immoral, then you have this opposite swing where people are becoming too basically too conservative, like let's say the radical Islamists. So we need to balance it out as us as conservative women. How do we present ourselves? We always talk about values, like conservative values. We talk about family, setting a good example to children. How should we present ourselves? So my point is that we should not be like the left. We should be more modest in order to present ourselves in the proper way, so we can attract people with better values
with higher standards.
So you're equating modest dress to to better values.
Yes.
I got you. So
And
what
women.
what do you say?
Well, both, of course.
Shelly.
Yeah.
You had-
I was still trying to follow what Yana was saying.
I know
the
it's a
connections
lot,
you were making,
yeah.
But I think when you mentioned, first of all, you mentioned in public. So I think there's a difference between public and private, of course. But who dictates what's modest for what event or what purpose at what time for what women? For women, and if we're talking about women, I guess because it's conservative women. So to say that a conservative woman, I don't know, what is modest? What is modest?
And that's a good question.
Yeah.
So, and I was thinking about that. Of course, I'm not advocating for someone, to be completely covered from head to toe, which I wouldn't judge them. If that's what they want to do, that's fine.
But that's what they're forced to
But, I'm not talking about the forced. I'm talking about
They're
the
forced to do
women.
that in those
I
countries.
agree with you. But I'm talking about women in this country. We have Christian women who also. Yeah, well, in this country, no, but
Jewish.
Well, they might be by their own.
but there's a balance.
countries,
And for
yeah.
example, like back in I think up to like the 1970s, actually around the world, most women had generally similar values. The way they behaved with men, the way that they dressed. Even in the Middle East, women dressed not super conservative, but also they were modest. People in the West were modest.
Again, what's modest? Because, and I'm not saying I totally disagree with you if I think I understand you, but what's modest? Because with freedom, there is this I don't know, a leverage, if you will, of freedom. What it means. So we have to take the risks and the responsibilities with freedom. So are we going to be conservative like Islamic countries, to the totalitarian, and say only women can dress like this, or are we going to allow freedom? And
I would not enforce this.
Realm?
I'm talking about us, like within us, to understand what is modest. So, and I think most people do understand what's modest, and what's modest is not overly sexualizing yourself.
Some people would say that our skirts are too short, even in conservative circles.
Yeah,
I think equating being modest with great values is the thing. With higher standards is the thing. If you dress and act a certain way, it's assumed that you have higher standards and better quality of a person.
You'll be respected more.
You said the right word, assume. Because even in conservative circles, we make these assumptions that how a person looks, they must be X, or they must not be Y. And they don't even know the person. They make these blanket assertions that because, I don't know, we have on mini skirt, whatever, that, they must be loose women. I think when I go to the club, I like that would really, that would really scare me to say that, well, you have to be totalitarian to be modest. I don't, maybe I misunderstood you.
Well, she's not saying it should be something that state mandate.
Of course, not a mandate.
She's saying that the movement, like on the left, feminism and wear what you want, that whole movement, women can be sexy and you shouldn't, men shouldn't feel like, that they're sexy
a certain way.
And I
just want to explain my thinking when it comes to the Middle East and Islamic countries. So when ISIS was really big, they created the caliphate. We had people from the West. We had girls from Europe actually marrying those ISIS fighters. They traveled over there.
People here marry people in jail.
Because, but it was a common theme why these women were attracted to
them. Like the bad guys.
It's because they said no. Because they said, we believe in family values. We're going to protect you. You're going to have children. We're going to have a home. We have and how they explain why woman needs to cover. They will say, because woman is a beautiful jewel and we want to protect you. We do not, the West wants to strip you and wants to show
when
you.
Men start dictating to women what they should wear.
The men are dictating.
When men start dictating to women what they should wear, that is not a good sign.
I'm not a man. I'm not a man. And
are you saying it wasn't just random men? You're saying husbands, right? You're saying
they were marrying them. Yes.
So you have a problem
when
with
men start dictating to women, married or not, what they should wear, that is not a good sign.
It wasn't them. They were saying it's the culture. They were attracting them into the culture.
Right. But you're saying though that a husband then should not be able to pretty much have a preference of what his
No,
wife
I didn't say
wears?
preference. I said clearly when men, married or not, start dictating
So what do
to
you mean by
women,
dictating?
when they tell a woman, wife, girlfriend, that, oh, you can or cannot wear this or that. That's a difference than saying, sweetie, you look, I like you in this or something like that.
How about
That's
suggesting?
different. No, it's
How about
not. That's
suggesting?
different because that woman
It's
still
still
has a
deliberate.
choice. That's woman when you dictate to a woman, oh, you only can wear such and such. That's dangerous.
Well,
That's a
generally,
dangerous.
you do see where you have some husbands who say, like for me, for instance, I'll use myself as an example. So, I have some things I can wear that are very revealing,
right?
And my husband will actually buy those things for me. Okay, but he'll say, you wear this when I'm with you.
Okay, that's fine.
But he wouldn't
private
want me.
and public.
That's still dictating.
No, but not private. No,
it's
he's
still
saying,
dictating. So how is that fine?
He's saying he was saying you wear this out. We'll go out, but when I can wear this when I go out with him. He wouldn't want me wearing that out with someone else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that is a type of being modest. So he basically doesn't want you to be, because that dress, let's say, is immodest. Like you have to agree, right? The one that you can only wear with him. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm talking about. So something like that should not be worn if you're by yourself. And if you're not with your husband,
you said should. That's the part that gets me. You said should not. That's the part that I have a problem with.
We have these women who are dressing any kind of way with everything showing, but then they still want the protection of a man. So
that's fine. Yeah, they do. But just because a woman wears a slinky whatever outfit down the block does not give anyone the right to attack her. Now, so you said
she will be disrespected, and
say that again. I'm sorry.
She will be disrespected by men one way or another. Even just by looking at her, they will be disrespected.
Men look at women.
I'm talking about she shouldn't, not in the way
men
like
should look at women. I want men to look at women.
No,
I want. Yeah, I
it's
do.
like if she was my family, and
I
let's say
I
have a niece, and I'm like, you know what, you shouldn't wear that because it's gonna make you look bad. The men will not respect you. They will not want to marry you, and you are destroying the entire culture by doing this. You are showing this to other young girls how to dress. And we as conservative women, what kind of message are we sharing to the rest of the world when we have radical Islamists that are being actually more moral in that sense than we are?
I don't want to say they're moral. They are totalitarian, and those women will be executed if they don't wear an abaya or a whole.
I'm not talking about them in those countries. I'm talking about in this country.
But there are people in this country that still abide.
But we have to be cautious and cognitive of associating extremes and saying this is the norm.
Right.
There are a large portion of Muslim women that practice Islam, not just in Middle East, in Indonesia, Indonesia is actually the largest, the country that has the largest Muslim population. These women choose to be covered. Right, there is a small portion. You keep saying a lot, both of you.
That's all right. You talking about Islamic?
I said there are, even in the U.S., there are women Islam who are dictated by their husbands.
Of course there are, but it's not the majority.
That's what you're making I wouldn't say radical as the norm, and it's not that.
There are certain things that are valuable. So we can disagree with the entire religion, let's say, but actually being modest is not something that only Muslims do.
Right.
No, you're right.
Other religions,
so why did we even get there? How do we even get to this?
Why is it that only
that's what the topic.
Why is it that only radical people are being modest these days? Why do you have to be radical in order to be modest? Why can't you say, you know what, women should be modest?
Right.
Because we breed, the next generation. We teach how to behave.
I think there's a place for teaching, a place for mentoring. Standards. I do. I think there's a place for all of that.
Higher standards.
But to tell a woman, and I'm making a distinction again between girls or young people and grown women, to tell a grown woman, particularly in the United States, that she should or should not wear a certain thing, I think that's a good
overboard. No, but then she'll act like you're acting right now.
Like what?
Doing all should be now extra.
Yeah, I am doing that. And what does that mean? And what does that mean?
I'm just saying, it means.
Tell me what that means.
It means
I'm not modest.
Of course, you're not modest. It means I can't teach you.
Modesty
it means I don't have to agree with you.
It's fine, but I can't teach you anything. So you can always be open to learning something.
You're saying you
Are
can
you
teach
close
me
to
something
learning?
implies that
Are
what
you
you have to
close to-
say is the only thing to be taught, or that I have to do that. And if I don't agree, then I'm unteachable.
Okay.
Again, that doesn't mean that.
No,
So
no,
we
no,
disagree.
Can you pause your mouth one moment so that I can respond?
So,
You mean
wait,
say
I have
something.
so,
Obviously
so
not.
look. First of all,
she said-
modesty.
You're a woman that
modesty
needs to know your
doesn't-
place.
No,
Modest-
she just said,
You can be sexy and modest at the same time. Number
Absolutely.
one.
Oh,
Wait,
number
we have
two.
questions.
Wait, number
Go ahead,
two.
Xandria.
So I'm just gonna put two juxtapositions. So,
Oh Lord, here we
I
go with
I
that.
find
Lord
it very
again.
I find it very
Oh,
annoying
can't.
when
Hold on.
people will see like a city council or like an official, right, a political figure, and feel like that person can't dress up, can't dress sexy, a little less modest, if you will, right? And all of a sudden they get all this extra backlash about it. Like, who cares? Time and place, as long as that's not what they're wearing when they're going into the office for whatever, they're advocating for. That's different than when they go to the club. They can dress however they want when they want to go to the club. But I will say, there are girls on Instagram, I'll say, for example, that promote the Conservative Party. And sometimes, like, some of the posts look very ditzy and they look childish and they don't come off very modest, right? And it kind of like, you're kind of like, this doesn't really like look the best, right? So it's kind of it's a balance.
But we have a comment here, so we like to take that. What's this comment?
Out of respect, that's not being controlling, that's being the head.
He's talking about
leader.
he's referencing
And
the
men, the
marriage.
thing is that men understand how other men look at us. So we have to listen to them at least. We don't have to.
But
and
you
I'm
know
not-
how other men look at you too. You can
Not
make a personal
necessarily.
decision.
How many women will say it doesn't matter how I look?
Some women do say that, and I said there's a place for mentoring or whatever, advising, whatever you want to call it. But that doesn't mean, again, grown women, at the end of the day, to say that they should or should not, I find that a little bit over the top or a little bit totalitarian.
Oh, look, speaking of over the top, you're the one talking about Islam's killing their wives because they don't want to wear.
No, but okay, in some parts of the world that does happen. But on the other extreme, you have Cardi B WAP, right? Like that's not really a good look for
It's
anybody.
not really an extreme though, because when you look at the rap culture, when you look at actually pop culture, it is the total over sexualization of women. It is it's not just an extreme, it's become the norm. So when you think of something like Yana said,
more like her with
she's
in addition to her outfit.
she wants to start a modest movement on the conservative side. I mean, it
to
kind of
push
does
against that because
it does make
that movement comes from the left.
Right.
I mean, the feminist movement basically says that it doesn't matter how you look, it doesn't matter the type of work you do. You can be a stripper, and we should still see you the same as a doctor or a teacher. Like, no, you're not gonna get the same respect. Right. Well, you have a right to do whatever it is that you want to do, but don't expect the same respect. So we as conservative women, how are we gonna I guess uplift our culture? Because we have, what I'm saying, globally, we're losing this culture war. We have other cultures that are gaining momentum, and there are women who actually want to be in those conservative cultures.
Well, you can take, and then like you mentioned to me, you can also have an argument for these libertarians who have this type of this thinking, live and let live.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that.
And that is ruining the conservative movement on multiple levels.
That's
what you said,
Republicans.
because you have this thinking.
I don't think so either. I think it has to be a happy balance.
Look, you're not going to dress.
New Republicans
if you're teaching
coming
a
with
class,
that.
you're not going to dress the same way you're going to dress when you go to the club. But you
think
can dress sexy.
Why would you go
have
to the
that
club? I mean, the thing is, it's like, I would go that direction, that if you're, in a certain profession, and you know what, who talked about that? Actually, Booker T. Washington talked about that.
It's a time and a
in
place.
a certain profession, no, you shouldn't even be having that type of lifestyle.
I don't agree with that at all.
We don't have to agree with Booker T. I love Booker T. Washington. I don't necessarily agree with
And now with
everything he has
social
said.
media, they know what you do.
But different settings. Different levels of appropriate for different settings, and people should learn to accept that. Like, you shouldn't.
No, they should. Or here's Xandria saying that we should learn to accept that.
Right.
No, we should not learn to accept that.
You said the word should. Anytime we say should.
So I'm saying that accepting modesty and deviance.
Right. All right. Well, this has been a very energetic show tonight.
I know.
For example, shirt would not be allowed in a workplace, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
it shows your shoulders. It shouldn't. I don't think it shouldn't really
Unless
matter.
you work
Like
on
a
a
guy
beach or
should,
something.
right?
That doesn't make
But
sense.
it
So that
matters.
just goes to show right there, you don't
can
know
say it
men.
shouldn't, but it
No,
matters.
men, but
it
they
does.
shouldn't.
Neither one of you
They
do.
should have
Neither
a
one of
man.
you do.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
whatever.
we are moving.
It should be my job to
They know
control
beta
that.
men.
Oh!
No, I didn't
They
know.
know beta men.
Yeah, because no alpha man.
No alpha man is
An
gonna
alpha
allow
man,
that. No.
generally, if you go out with him, yes. But
I
he
already have
doesn't
an
want
alpha man.
you wearing
I already have an alpha
certain
man. I don't
things
care about the others.
outside. Now, then that's the truth. That's the truth.
Oh,
So we go on.
Whatever, because you always try to get personal and make a personal attack. You all do. I mean, now we are like betas and all this. Come on, whatever.
No, I said they know beta men.
Well, I already
You
got
probably
an
know
alpha
some
man,
too.
so it doesn't matter.
Everybody, you know, is not an alpha male.
But you
I
always
mean-
talk about alpha man.
So I didn't say anything against them. I'm just saying. So what's the point? We know different types of men. Men look at women. Real men, I'm talking about. I ain't talking about ones that look at men. I'm
Even
talking
the
about
beta
men
men
looking at men.
look
I mean,
at
at
women.
women.
Beta men, right? Look at men. But
I mean,
most men
beta
want
men
their
are-
woman
and
to
And
look
they
They're
like
make
allowed
that.
and they
certain
make
things, right.
assumptions about those women.
Okay, we make assumptions about men, but nobody's trying to take our brain out and say, "Oh,
No,
you only
they-
think a certain
They
way."
need to know. They need to present themselves the right way too.
Right.
I mean, this was just a women
Right, we're talking
conversation.
about women. 'Cause
We
we're
can talk
women.
about how men should behave.
Let men talk about how men should behave.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Should.
All right. So this brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for watching.
Finally.
Continue the conversation by checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe. That way you get up to the minute content when we post, and we appreciate the support. We are an independent media, and each time you subscribe, it helps make our voice that much stronger. And we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Again, check out our website, www.metroconservativemedia.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.